everyone. Today is Thursday of the 21st week in Ordinary Time. So nice to be with all of you this afternoon. It's a hot one out there. This week has been hot, hasn't it? I hope you're staying hydrated. Take care of yourself. So I'm going to continue our discussion on the sacramentality of marriage and also about marriage being of a divine institution and marriages that are celebrated as a valid marriage, a good and natural bond between baptized persons and unbaptized persons. So we have a lot of scenarios here, don't we? So one of the questions that came to my attention was, Father, why is it necessary that marriages take place in a church? I guess you're talking about your niece, your nephew, your grandchildren who are not into church. Well, of course they're going to have that perspective. When someone does not go to Mass, guess what they're going to ask you? Why do I have to have it in a church? Because church is not on their mind. You know, it's something that's more of a venue for them. It's more of a like, I want to go to this restaurant and I just want to have it there. Can we have a little ceremony? They're really not interested in a sacrament. So when they asked you that question, I want you to understand something. And I'm just trying to be very honest and very upfront with you. They're not interested in the sacramentality of Christ entering into the union. It's more of a venue issue. It's more of a like, you know, we're all here, so why can't we just stay here? What's the big deal? Why do I have to go to church, and then we have to go over here, take pictures, and I have to go over here, then we have hors d'oeuvres, and then we have, do you see what I mean? That's why they're asking you that. They're not interested in the sacrament. Now, I'm not trying to like throw anybody under the bus. I'm just trying to be very honest with you. They're not interested in receiving a sacrament from Jesus Christ. Now, you and I can encourage them and say, you know what? Why church is important is because that Jesus instituted the sacrament. Why having it in a church is because a sacrament is an encounter with the risen Christ. And to have it within the context of a sacred building is very important. To hear the word of God, to profess your vows to each other, to receive the blessings of Christ upon this marriage is very important. You know, when Mary and Joseph took the child Jesus in the temple for the presentation of the temple, remember that? That's a joyful mystery. The fourth joyful mystery, the presentation in the temple. Could they have said, why do we have to go to the temple? Why can't we just say, God, thanks for giving us Jesus? It's a very sacred time. It's a very beautiful passage as you walk and journey with Christ. It's just not a check of a functionality. Like, why do we have to go to church, Grandma? I mean, why can't we just say we love each other in the restaurant and then we're right there? But meanwhile, they will travel down the shore, they will travel to Hawaii, they'll go to Aruba and have that destination because they want to be at that place, but they don't want to be at this place. So if you're receiving questions about why in a church, they're the answers. They don't want a sacrament. They don't want it. And I know that probably hurts you, right? It probably it's like, oh, I didn't want to hear that. Even though it's true. I don't want to hear that. I know. But do you want me to lie to you? Or do you want me to tell you the truth? I'm not going to lie to you. They don't want the sacrament. They have no intention of living the faith. They have no intention of receiving graces from the sacrament. And I don't even know if they believe in the sacrament of marriage that Jesus instituted it. That it is an encounter with Christ. That there are specific ends of marriage, spiritual goods of marriage. Like, I don't even know if they buy into that. And that's another truth I want to just tell you. That does not mean that I don't think that we should encourage, support, help people get to that point. Absolutely. What do you think I'm here for, right? Why are you listening to these reflections? Because you also believe in that. Absolutely. So we should work harder and really gently, gather them together. Your niece, your nephew, your grandkids, and say, listen. And I know many grandparents do this. You'll make grandma very happy if you get married in the church. I think that's very nice. But I want them to get married in a valid sacrament because they have chosen to do that. Because if the marriage doesn't work out, you know who they're going to blame? They're going to blame grandma forced me to get married in church. I mean, people are people. They say things later in life. Sometimes they say things they don't even mean. And they don't realize what they're saying. So if you're asking me the question, why a church? Well, first of all, you have to ask yourself this question. Is a church more than just a building? The answer is yes. Is the church a consecrated dwelling of God? Yes. Is a church the ordinary place in which the sacraments of Jesus Christ are celebrated? Yes. Is the church the place in which God speaks to his people in a very sacramental, definitive way? Yes. Is the church a place in which we respond to the risen Christ, of his invitation to us to enter into this passage, whether it be baptism, reconciliation, communion, funeral, wedding? Yes. There's your answer. So do you want to just take this video everywhere you go and hook up an earpiece and say, wait a minute, let me give you the answer? Well, maybe you have to do that. But that's the answer. The church building is more than just a functional place. But it's very interesting that people will go to Aruba, Hawaii, I don't know, wherever destination they go to on honeymoon. They want to go to that place. They want to have it at this place, the venue. But they won't travel, 2-3 miles to the parish church. It just tells you something. And all those other places are functional places. A church building is more than a functional place. Good question. I hope you're able to put this all in the bow and present it to your grandchild or your niece or your son or daughter that argues with you. I know you're saddened by it, but it's the reality for a lot of young people. And hopefully, please God, that when little baby comes along, they would want the baby baptized. Because that's another fight you're going to have. Or maybe you just give in. I hope you don't. I hope you don't. Because I know you're passing all this on to them. But as you can see, when they grow up, they don't buy into it. They're not all in. So you pray. And remember I said to you before, that's not a cop-out. Yeah, pray. No. More things are changed in this world through prayer than we could ever begin to imagine. I hope you believe that. More things are changed through prayer than this world could ever imagine. So pray. Pray. Pray now. Even if your child's in 6th grade, pray now that this will be okay. Things will be back. It's important. Okay? So we have a couple situations here. We have a good and natural bond of marriage which is valid between a baptized and an unbaptized person. So that's scenario 1. That could be done in a church or in a non-ecclesial setting. But that's only within the context of a baptized and a non-baptized. Scenario 1. Scenario 2, 2 baptized Christians, a baptized Catholic and a baptized Lutheran, both baptized. It is a sacrament. It is a sacrament. And, of course, it can be done within the context of Mass or in the context of a liturgy of the Word. In fact, with scenario 1, only in the context of a liturgy of the Word. When someone is marrying someone who's not baptized, Mass is not offered. Why? Why? Because it is not sacramental. The two become one, correct? One of them does not belong to Christ at all. So to enter into a union in which it is solidified by the sacrament of Jesus Christ cannot happen. That's why it is not sacramental, and that's why Mass is not offered. So scenario 1, baptized and an unbaptized person. It is a valid marriage that could happen in a church or in a neutral setting. Mass is not offered if it is in a church or in a neutral setting. It is only in the context of the liturgy of the Word. Readings, homily, vows, blessing of rings, the Lord's Prayer, nuptial blessing, final blessing. Scenario 2. 2 baptized persons. A sacrament. Even if one is not a Catholic, they've both been baptized. It can happen within the context of Mass or a liturgy of the Word. So again, 2 baptized persons, 1 Catholic, 1 Lutheran, Methodist, Episcopalian. They're both baptized. Happens within the context of Mass, or if they do not want Mass, a liturgy of the Word, but in a church setting, because it's a sacrament. I don't want to get too technical with you, but they would need permission for mixed religion. Scenario 1 would need a dispensation of canonical form, or, dispensation of disparity of worship. Disparity of worship is because we're dealing with someone who is not baptized. It's calling for a dispensation, not for a permission. It's calling for a dispensation. So this is a dispensation of disparity of worship. This is calling for a permission for mixed religion. Also, it can seek a dispensation of canonical form. Because, let's say Susan's son falls in love with a beautiful Lutheran girl who is practicing Lutheran and wants to be married in a setting that she goes to services each week. Did you notice I didn't call it a church? I'm sorry. I just have to, because you know we have to all train ourselves. She goes to an ecclesial community. Okay, fine. So what does Susan's son need from the parish? He needs what is called a dispensation of canonical form, which gives him permission to be married outside of the Catholic Church. And also, he has to seek permission for mixed religion. Don't worry about that. Let me worry about that. I worry about all that stuff. I worry about the disparity of worship and that dispensation. I know how to take care of all that. But I want them to come to me so I can take care of it. What happens is they don't come here and they just do anything they want to do. Every marriage counts, whether it's valid or invalid. So if someone got married at Las Vegas through a drive-through, Elvis Presley drive-through, I don't know, whatever, newspaper clippings, it counts. It might be invalid, but because it's invalid, some people think, oh, Father, it's invalid. Yeah, it still counts. You did it. We have to look at it, and we have to see what happened. So if that is to be declared null and void, I have to find out, what did you do? And believe me, the ones that are invalid are easier to handle to say that it's null and void than the ones that are valid that we have to declare null and void. Right? So, but every marriage counts. And then you have this scenario where you have two Catholics that have never been married before. Yay! I remember when I was in the classroom, I said to the priest, I said, Father, is there ever a situation where we're going to have two Catholics never married before that comes before us for marriage? He goes, yeah, but rarely. And I thought, oh, wow. Because when you're in the seminary learning all this, it's like, ugh. It's like now I'm so used to it. Like I have it. I know what I'm doing. But there are cases where it's just interesting. I don't even want to talk to you about the Petrine privilege and the Pauline privilege. The Petrine privilege I have to write to Rome for. The Pauline privilege, we could take care of it here in the diocese. We have a Catholic marrying a non-Catholic that was baptized, going not to her ecclesial community, but she wants to be married in another ecclesial community of another religion, but that's Christian, but not the religion of her ecclesial community. What do you do then? So it's all that. And how about if you want to do it outside of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia into another territory? What do you want to do if you want to do it on a university chapel that's on their campus? All that seeks permission. What happens if a Byzantine Catholic marries a Latin Rite Catholic? I guess the best way to say is like what my secretary tells people. I think I need to schedule, you need to schedule an appointment with Father Bellopede. I mean, my secretary, she is very bright. She knows her stuff. She's very capable of everything here. But I have to tell you, when it comes to marriages, there's a lot of nuances that you have to, like, we have to take our time with. Same with, like, when Deacon Don, he's going to begin RCIA soon, right? Well, one of the first questions he asks people is, before they come into the church, are you in a valid marriage? It's like, oh no, Deacon, I've been married 3 times already. And I'm living with somebody. What do you say then? What do you say to them when you want to be welcoming, but they have to take care of these issues? I say to Deacon, bring them to me. Because I have to figure out, like, what was valid and what was invalid. Like, oh, the first 2 were invalid. Okay, I know how to handle that. This last 3rd one is valid. And then they're cohabitating with a 4th one. Like, I need to look at all that, explain to them, but they have a desire to come into the church. But do they have a desire to follow Christ's teaching on marriage? That's another question. Remember when the Lord said, you know, to the person, do one more thing, go sell what you have and give to the poor? The guy dropped his head, walked away sad. Same thing with this situation. You know, you have 3 marriages and the one that you're living with is not even your spouse. Bye-bye. Sometimes we get into a tangled web. Sometimes the web is not easy to untangle. It takes time. It can be done. You have to be patient. Just like if you had any webs that you had to untangle or any kind of shoelaces, you're like, oh. 9 out of 10 times someone says, here, do this. Because it needs patience. You need time. Everything is not a quick fix. Okay? So I just want you to understand all that. I don't want to spend too much time. I mean, this is too heavy. Not that I mind talking about this stuff. It's just like, for one sitting, for you guys, it's too much. I'm not giving you a 3-credit course. You know, I can't give you a degree in the theology of marriage after these reflections. But I just want you to write your notes down. I want you to ask Susan some questions, and I want you to just be able to articulate it back to your grandchildren. Because they're going to come to you. They come to the people who are involved with the church. You think they're going to call me first? No, they're going to call you first. They ask you first all these questions. And sometimes when you don't have the answers, they drop the ball. Over. You may say, oh honey, I don't know. You have to go call the priest. But you could say, listen, interesting that you said that. I do know that you need a dispensation or permission, because I'm not saying that it can't be done, but you do need pay permission. And the reason why you need this is because of this reason. Or you need to be married in a church because a church is more than just a building. You know, it's the way you talk to people. You know, the way that I speak to you. You know, I just like to gather people around and like try to explain things to them. All right? So I want to talk to you also about what's heavy on my mind too, is about that flock note that was sent to you. It was sent to you a couple of days ago by the Archdiocese through our parish. So we extracted it from the Archdiocese and sent it to you. And it was basically, the premise was the Archdiocese and our 214 parishes were receiving a lot of emails concerning exemption from the vaccination. So a lot of our parishes, including us, we were just making up a template or wording on our own, which we thought was fine, to give exemption to people who did not want to be vaccinated because their work was asking for it. Sometimes the work really was asking really specific questions, like that secretaries could not answer. That secretaries were going back to the pastors and saying, I don't think we have an answer for this, or I don't think this has an answer. Well, anyway, the diocese were getting requests about that. So the Archdiocese, their central administration, and the Archbishop sat together and put together a statement. Now, many people, you have two camps, right? You have two camps. You have a camp that is very much for the vaccine, and you have a camp that is not for the vaccine. So you have two sets of Catholics, you know, one's for the vaccine, one's for the not for the vaccine. Because this camp who is for the vaccine says, you know, Father, I prayed about it. I know it's right. I'm following my conscience. I agree with the Archdiocese and with the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops and the Holy See. I think everyone should be vaccinated. I agree with that. Okay. They have a group of people who also say to themselves and to me, Father, I have prayed about it. I'm following my conscience. I know what the Archdiocese stated. I have to follow my conscience. I don't believe that I should be vaccinated. Okay. So I understand these two groups of people. You know, both prayed, both studied, both are following their internal conscience. Like they didn't make it lightly a decision. Then a statement comes out from the parish. Well, no, the parish did not make that statement. The statement came back out from the Archdiocese, which we belong to corporate, which is the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. And they have stated, you know, with all these requests for exemption, we are stating that our 214 parishes should not give letters of exemption because it is a moral good that the Archdiocese and the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops and the Holy See believes it is a moral responsibility to be vaccinated. So we're suggesting that, well, no, they didn't suggest that you do not give the exemption letter out. No letter, because we're not giving you a template. So we do not give out exemption letters. So here you have this kind of statement. Well, for these people, they're very pleased with that, right? For these guys, they're like, well, what does that mean about us? I mean, you say it's a moral good, that it's a good thing that you get vaccinated for the protection of people. We don't, what we have studied and what we believe, we don't think that we have to be. We follow our conscience. Well, you know what me as a pastor says? I have to respect your conscience. If you prayed, studied, and followed the rubric of that to form your conscience, the church cannot do any way, shape, or form to break that conscience of yours. It's a good God-given ability. You have two camps. You have two camps of people that are good people. So I just want to put it out there that that statement was about the Archdiocese, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, and the Vatican, who says that it is a moral responsibility to be vaccinated. It did not say about or talk about people who had prayed, studied, and made a very clear, following their conscience decision not to be. And I think that's why these people were hurt by that. For that, I'm sorry. I apologize. Sandy extracted the letter from the Archdiocese. She did not alter it. She even told me, I did not put our words in there. I did not want to doctor it up or fancy it or cushion it or make it softer. She says, I didn't want to put our words into a statement that was not our statement. I said, okay. You put out their statement. She put Love and Prayers, Father Bellopede, only because it came from the parish, not because Father Bellopede wrote it. It's just because I'm the pastor of the parish. I belong to the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, which belongs to the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, which belongs to the Holy See. So I said, okay. I understand. Maybe some people don't, but I understand what you did. And some people thought it was a little bitey or tough for those who are not vaccinated. I am sorry. I'm sorry that you felt that way. No way did St. Mary's want to hurt or unearth something that you're struggling with. The Catholic Church wants people to follow their conscience, but they want to follow them in a well-formed conscience. And if you could say without a doubt that you did that, fine. But that's where you have to come to that point in your prayer. Father, I did study. I did pray. I did look at everything. Good for you. See, I don't want that statement, following your conscience, to be like lame. Like, yeah, I follow my conscience. This is what, just like when someone says, "Hey, pray for me." Oh yeah, I pray for you. Like, no. You don't know what I mean by that. I don't mean pray like, oh yeah, God bless you. No, pray for me. Pray. Come on. In the name of the Father and of the Son. No, I mean it. Pray. The same thing with following your conscience. It's not like, yeah, I follow my conscience. No. What's the rubric in following your conscience? Study. Church's point of view. Teaching. You have to come to an understanding of where that particular answer that the church was promoting was coming from. Prayer, insight of the Holy Spirit, the common good for humanity, the health pandemic. Follow your conscience. There are some people who will say, well, they're not following their conscience because they're not following what the church has stated. Because that's a big portion to be informed. It's like, abortion. Well, I follow my conscience. I don't think I have to have a child every time. I think that I could turn, like, I don't want to get into all that. I don't want to get into every aspect, but it is a big aspect of the following your conscience. But do you understand what I'm trying to say is that there is a sacredness in following your conscience. There is a sacredness of it. And the church must respect the sacredness of an individual's conscience. However, it has to be formed properly. And I don't know if every Catholic knows how to form their conscience. So again, pick up this, what we teach. Read and study what we teach. We love everybody who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. We want to protect people and we want to help people. We don't bar anybody from the sacraments. Nobody's prohibited to receive the sacraments. You know, if somebody who's like, you don't have to show your card, your vaccination card at the door of the church. Like, here's my, some are saying, okay, if they start doing that, it's like showing the mark of the beast, you hear everything and you read. Sometimes maybe we should stop listening to all this propaganda because it's really ruining our spirit. We're really becoming divided. So let's just stop that. Let's just stop it. I think people need to come to church, pray, celebrate Mass, receive communion. Absolutely. So here I'm a pastor of a parish that has people who are vaccinated and people who are not vaccinated, right? Like any other pastor, I guess. I'm not excluded from pastors that are in the same situation I'm in. I don't know if every parish put out that statement from the Archdiocese. Maybe they didn't. But we did. So we're sorry if it offended you. But we put it out because we were getting a lot of requests for exemption letters. And we thought, well, we could just put that out. And that was the reason, and only the reason. It wasn't anything more than just to explain the exemption letter. So just want to talk to you about that. I think I have to, at least I want to address it. I mean, I just like to talk to you guys about things like this. And just to tell you the reason why we put out that as a flock note. So if you're vaccinated, that's fine. That's wonderful. If you're not, you made that decision, you followed your conscience, you prayed, you looked at everything. How am I going to argue? Unless it is something very different that I would have to talk to you further. There's some issues that there is no negotiation. I mean, there is no negotiation. I think we would have a difficult time in debating. So sometimes we have to say, well, we agree to disagree. But I don't want this to be a war. I don't want this to be a war. Our poor principal, Phil Rucko, he has to deal with all that, even with children and, with mask and not masked, and it's just so much. And our CRE, the coordinator for religious education, who is Mary Godsberg, we're back in person for prep. So those issues. I just don't want these camps. I don't want COVID wars. But you know what? That's what's happening sometimes. COVID wars. There's wars. And I think the devil likes to stir the pot. He wants us to be with each other. So I want to end with this. I'm not dismissing the whole notion of conscience, or I'm not saying that, well, that you could do anything, just follow your conscience. No, I'm not saying that either. See, when there's a statement that says follow your conscience, and I guess that's why it wasn't put in that flock note. It's more than just saying that. And I think I kind of really know why the Archdiocese didn't say that. Because people would have said, Father, you explain it that way, that's fine. But they didn't explain it that way. They said, well, I could talk, you see my face, you hear my voice, we could talk. A letter doesn't do that. That's why sometimes when people are emailing, emails could be vicious. I mean, it's like, I try not to respond to that, and I just say, thank you for your email. If you'd like to talk to me, please come and make an appointment. Because I'd rather talk to you. Because you see my face, I see your face, I get to know what this really the issue is. Emails don't do that. They don't do that. It's difficult. So, bottom line, everybody, we are not here to create wars. We're to create peace. We're not here to have COVID wars. We present what we were given as an understanding of like where the Archdiocese in the United States, Conference of Catholic Bishops, and the Holy See is coming from. You're going to always have your opinion. Those people are going to have all their opinion. I know. And I respect your opinions, and I guess I have my opinion. But sometimes it's more than just an opinion. That's where the internalization of the moral order and the moral good has to be weighed in every situation, and then we act upon it. So the reason why I'm just saying this is because I'm sure that was hard for some people who are not vaccinated. And I just want you to realize that you could always talk to me in person, in my office. I'd rather talk to people in person, but that's just me. Because, like I said, you get to know the whole expression and all that. But I just thought I would just tell you. And I would say that to anybody for any statement. Like I have done that. I'll say, oh, I'm sorry, that's not what our intention was. So my purpose in this today is just saying, I'm sorry, that's not the intention of the parish. I don't think it was the intention of the diocese. So that's why I'm saying I'm sorry, because I don't think it was the intention. I don't think they're there to like, I think it was just saying that this is a moral responsibility, it's a moral good, we think it, and they know that. They know that there's going to be people that don't agree with that. Good Catholics. And there's going to be good Catholics that do agree with that. And then we have the pastor. Everybody be at peace. Peace, everybody. Just like, okay, we're just, trying to take everything into perspective. All right? I hope you have a great day today. It was nice to talk to you. God bless you.